Hello, dear friends. Welcome to another True Bible Story. I borrowed your children's Bible from the Sunday school classroom, and I'm going to read to you a story today about a young man named Joseph. While I'm reading, you'll be able to see the pictures. Jacob lived in the land of Canaan. He had 12 sons. The oldest was Reuben. The youngest was Benjamin. Of all his sons, Jacob loved the one named Joseph the best of all. When Joseph was 17, Jacob made a fancy coat for him, a coat of many colors. His brothers they didn't get coats. Jacob didn't make them a coat each. And the brothers were very jealous. They could not speak a kind word to Joseph. One night, Joseph had a strange dream. He and his brothers were out in a field tying wheat into bundles. His bundle of wheat stood up. Then the others stood around it, and then they bowed down. They bowed down to it. He told his brothers about the dream. Oh my goodness. He told them, and they laughed and laughed at the idea that they would ever bow down to him. Then Joseph had another dream. And guess what he did? Yes, he did. He told his brothers. He said, "This time I dreamed that the sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me." Well, the dream made the brothers even more jealous and madder toward Joseph. Could the dream mean that one day Joseph would rule over his father, mother, and all his brothers? One day, Joseph's brothers were out in the field looking after the goats and sheep. They saw Joseph coming. "Oh, here comes that dreamer. It's time we taught him a lesson," his brother Levi said. When Joseph reached the camp, the brothers grabbed him and threw him into a deep pit. What should we do with him?" Judah asked. Just then, a caravan of traders came along. They were on their way to Egypt. The brothers sold Joseph to the traders for 20 pieces of silver. But first, they tore off Joseph's fancy coat. The traders took him away in chains to be a slave. When the brothers got back home, they told their father that Joseph had been killed by a wild animal. They showed him Joseph's coat, which they had covered with goat's blood. Jacob wept and tore his clothes, and his sons tried to comfort him. But Jacob would not stop crying for his beloved Joseph. Joseph was not dead. He was alive in Egypt. The traders had sold him to a rich family, and Joseph had done very well there because God was always with him, helping him do his best. Joseph lived for many years in Egypt. God gave him success in whatever he did, even when he had to stay in jail for a while. In time, Joseph became a powerful man in Egypt, second only to Pharaoh the king. God had given Joseph the gift of seeing into the future by explaining dreams. Pharaoh had two dreams that really worried him. In one dream, 7 big, fat ears of grain were swallowed by 7 thin, skinny ears of grain. In another dream, 7 fat cows were eaten by 7 really skinny cows. Joseph said that in 7 years rain would not fall and crops would not grow. There would be a great famine. No rain, no water, no crops could grow. This meant that the people of Egypt had 7 years to get ready. 7 years later, sure enough, the great famine came. Because of Joseph, Egypt had plenty of food stored in big barns called granaries. But people from other lands had very little or nothing. One day, a family of brothers from the land of Canaan came before Joseph. He immediately recognized his brothers, but all they saw was a handsome man in fine robes with a gold chain around his neck. They bowed down in front of him. They bowed to him. The men were Joseph's brothers. The dreams he had had when he was 17 had come true. When the brothers found out that the great man was their brother Joseph, they were really afraid he was going to punish them. But Joseph was glad to see them. He said, "Do not be afraid of what you had done to me. It was not you who sent me here, but God." Joseph sent for his father Jacob, and Jacob and all his family and all his sons' families and their servants and all their animals settled in Egypt in the land of Goshen. Their children and their children's children numbered as many as the stars in the sky. God was always with Joseph, helping him do his best. And you know what? God is always with you and me, helping us to do our best too. Thank you for joining me today. I'll be back soon with another story. I love you. Bye-bye.